Hey up. So, we've come to a bit of a pause with the Hard Gore series at this point, with the completion of what I would consider to be Phase 1. So, I am going to be covering stuff that we looked at in the introduction episode to the Hard Gore series, so if you've not seen that, it might be worth looking at. There'll be stuff that I'm recovering here, but it might just give you a bit more of an idea of the plan for the Hard Gore series. So let's move on to what's happening then. So I've split the Hard Gore films into what I would consider core Hard Gore releases and what I'd consider the question marks of the series, I guess. The main thing that I've split these films up with, I'd say, is to do with the branding. So, specifically, with the branding as well, I'm meaning these screaming faces on the spines, and they also move over to sort of the top of the DVD as well. It's the sort of thing where if you were in CEX and you could see on the shelf clearly that this is a Hard Gore release. You pick it up and you have the Hard Gore branding at the top. It's a Hard Gore release, no question about it whatsoever. With the burgundy drip and the Hard Gore and the screaming skull, you know you're getting a Hard Gore film when you pick one of those up. Now the other ones, now they do involve some sort of branding in them, but it's a little looser, it's a little vaguer, and that's what we're going to be getting into in this video. What considers itself to be a question mark. Before we move on as well, I do want to say that obviously all of the Hard Gore Phase 1 videos are up on YouTube for you to double check. We're going to be going through them as well in a bit on this video. And I'm also going to be showing all the films we're going to be covering in Phase 2. Now, if at any point you think, there's something missing here, then please do let me know. Now, I've spent the past 2 years researching, especially deeply researching the question mark ones, just to see if there were any other releases with the full branding or anything that I might have missed. And to the best of my knowledge, this is how the Hard Gore collection plays out. But I am only a human, and I'm open to admit that maybe I've made a mistake here or there. So, if there is a film you think I've missed, then please do let me know. But I do ask, if you are going to let me know, please send some form of evidence, I guess. Be it like an eBay listing, or an image, or just something tangible that I can then go on to research further. Because I've just got this horrible feeling that I'm going to get a bunch of emails or a bunch of messages, and they're all just like, oh, I remember this one, and I spend a month looking for it and it doesn't exist, and I end up just exactly back where I've started, basically. Because this is the thing, the false memory, it can happen. It has happened to me while collecting these, it's happened to me while researching these, and I'm happy to be proven wrong, absolutely, because that means more reviews. It means I get to look at more films and make more videos for you guys on the Hard Gore series, which I'm clearly into. There's clearly something in me that wants to do it, but yeah, a little bit of evidence would go a long way with it, because some of these were very difficult to find and very difficult to research. There's not a lot of information. But again, I'll mention this again later on. So, let's move on and let's look back at Phase 1. Right off the bat then, I will say that this is by far the worst collection of films that I've ever looked at on this channel. Of the 51 films that we watched on here, I'd say I only really liked 8 of them, which is pretty bad going. And I'd say that I actively hated 17 of them, over double what I actually just liked. It's not a very good ratio, you know, not a very good ratio. Comparing them to some of the other collections I've done on this channel, and it's yeah, the ratio is way off for how much crap is in this. So what I'm going to do now, I think, is I'm going to do a ranking of the films that we've covered in Phase 1 from worst to best. Starting with the worst, let's crack on. Cold Grip, Switch Killer, 666 Revealed, Vampires vs Zombies, The Attendant, Ghoul School, The Bagman, Cannibals, Zombie Chronicles, Aquanoids, Nightmares Come at Night, The Wickeds, Hunting Humans, The Red Monk, Cannibal Terror, Demonium, Cannibal Detour Hell's Highway, Faces of Death 3, Cannibal Dead The Ghouls, Nightmare in a Damaged Brain, Vampire Killer Barbies, Hitchhike to Hell, Hellinger, El Chupacabra, Rain in Darkness, Nutbag, Butchered, The Stink of Flesh, Hellmaster, The Child, Psycho Sisters, Deep River Savages, Creepazoids, Dead Creatures, The Boneyard, Maniacal, Enigma, Axe, Intruder, At Dawn They Sleep, Faces of Death 2, Turkey Shoot, Strange Behaviour, A Cat in the Brain, Patrick, I Spit on Your Grave, Faces of Death, The Driller Killer, Last Cannibal World, Thirst, and lastly, Night of the Living Dead takes the #1 spot because, of course it does. We also managed to coin a term throughout this collection, which I'm quite happy about. That being millenitrash, obviously, the name given to early 2000s homemade, shot on a handy cam horror films that just sort of exude the era, the angst of the era, the anger of the times, I guess. Yeah, the bottom 5 in the list were all millenitrash films, and there were 20, or all in all. Out of the 51 films, 20 of them were millenitrash. It felt like more, if I'm honest. It did feel like more. They all ended up towards the back end of the list as well. Apparently my favourite millenitrash film was Maniacal. That was the highest rated millenitrash. And yeah, I can kind of see why with that, because, well, I grew up with that one, so already I have a bit of nostalgia for it. I've played it at a couple movie nights throughout the years, just as something to laugh at. It's a pretty good example of what millenitrash is as well. And also, it came sort of early on in the collection, so I hadn't quite had my mind fully melted by the extent of some of the shit millenitrash in this collection. Yeah, it's definitely the worst collection I've covered. You know, you compare it to Vipco or Dead of Night collection. The ratio on those wasn't actually too bad between like classic films that you actually wanted to check out and shit that they just shoved in for the sake of it. By Vipco I mean Vipco Scream Time specifically, because that's the release that I covered on this channel before. Yeah, if you'd have like just got rid of the millenitrash out of this collection, like, well, you'd have had like what, 31 films, and you know, you got your Franco and Miyazaki and Faces of Death and stuff like that, and it's stuff that I'm actually interested in seeing. It wouldn't have been great, but it wouldn't have been all that bad. But then yeah, you shove in these millenitrash and it does just slow down the pace of watching these films. It's like, oh god, another one from 2002. Ugh. Yeah, you could say similar things about just the releases itself, I guess, as well. The prints were pretty rough. They were pretty rough for the most part. Some of them are terrible, terrible. There's been no attempt to sort of clean up and remaster any of these films at all. It was pretty much just a get a copy of the film, don't matter how, and dump it on a disc. The cases, the covers were pretty naff for the most part. They're very trashy looking things. I could pick most of these out and show you, and they're pretty trashy. There are some standout good ones. I really like the Faces of Death artwork. You know, the I Spit on Your Grave's got the iconic cover, and there are a few that stood out as being pretty good. It's usually then the classic ones that they're actually really trying to push to you. But for the most part, yeah, they're just pretty trashy. Fewer spelling errors, I'd say, than things like Dead of Night collection maybe, but the run times were pretty bad on a lot of these as well, which again is something we found in Dead of Night. Like, the run times are pretty shit. Yeah, it's the same here. There's not been any major issues that I can think of with any of these DVDs though. There's not been anything that's prevented me from actually just watching the film. You know, Dead of Night collection had some absolutely awful errors that made the films nearly unwatchable. And even Vipco Scream Time had like reels out of order and things like that that made the film pretty unwatchable. So it was good on that front, I guess. That all the films I watched with ease, but they're not great still. They're not great. They're very budget. They're definitely very budget releases. And then, well, there's also the quality of the cases themselves as well. Must have been around lockdown time. A mate of mine was clearing out his old DVD collection, and he sent me a video of just some dodgy copy of Silent Hill movie that he had, and the case was like crumbling away in his hands, and I'd never seen that before. I was like, wow, that's crazy. I've not witnessed that happen. Just really brittle plastic. And then most of these are the same. All of that, it must just be super cheap plastic that they're using. Just really cheap and really shitty plastic. And yeah, it just crumbles away. But I mean, these are Poundland DVDs, so you're not really going to get quality, I guess, are you? Let's move on to talking about Phase 2 of the collection then. So the films that you are currently seeing on screen right now are all the films that I will be covering in Phase 2. Now, these all feature some element of hard gore branding, even if it is very loosely. They're all really big question marks in my books, and that's sort of the plan moving forward. So each episode we're going to do what we usually do. We're going to look at the film, we're going to look at the release itself and discuss that element, but we're also going to take a little bit of time to question, is this technically a hard gore film or not? How closely does it fit into the hard gore branding, and would you class it as a hard gore film? Because this is the thing, a lot of these I don't even know about, and it'd be nice to have a little chat, little discussion, just figure out what is and what isn't a hard gore film out of all these. I listed all the films in Phase 1 in the ranking, and I'm showing all the films in Phase 2 here now. So the end of Phase 2 will be the end of the collection as far as I'm concerned. So we've only got like 9 or 10 films left to go, really. Not many left in Phase 2. But yeah, this is the extent of the hard gore collection, basically. So, there we have it so far. I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy some of these. But mostly for me, it was scratching that itch. It was figuring out what these discs contained that I'd stared at as a kid for so long. Figuring out what these films were, and I'm so glad I didn't buy many of these when I was younger, to be completely honest, because either I'd have been very disappointed that I'd wasted £1, which went a long way back when I was younger, and I'd have also, it could have also completely warped my film taste to be something way worse than it already is, which is not great. But yeah, I'm glad that I managed to satiate that part of my brain that's like, what was on those hard gore discs? What was on them? If for some reason you are wanting to collect the hard gore DVDs, well, one, just don't bother. But if you're adamant about it, be warned, most of these films aren't good. They're rubbish. They're really bad, both in quality of film and quality of like print release, everything on the disc and all that. You'll be disappointed. There's too much millenitrash, there's not enough good stuff, and it's just too low quality and budget, really. And they're hard to find. Funnily enough, it's much easier to find better versions of some of these films than the hard gore releases. So as a collector, and some of them are a bit pricey as well, sometimes, So as a collector, it's not worth collecting. Even the spine numbers don't make you want to collect it because they're all over the place. That's why I just kind of gave up talking about them, because more than anything they're just production numbers, and they change production that many times that they're just all over the place. So it's not like a Shameless or a Bipco Scream Time or anything with the numbers. You can't really, there's nothing really to collect with these, I guess, outside of the little screaming head. So that's it for phase 1. So the plan is to have a little break on the Hard Gore stuff before phase 2. Now this will give you guys a chance to let me know about anything that I may have potentially missed. And I'm going to reiterate one more time, please, please, please do, if you can, send some evidence of these films existing with Hard Gore branding. An image, an old blog post, an eBay listing, even a sold eBay listing that's no longer active, just something tangible. You can comment on this video with evidence or with suggestions. You can hit me up on social media. I'm usually on Instagram. I try not to go on social media because it's crap, but Instagram's probably the one that I use the most. At Old Man Chimes, it'll be on screen. You can always drop me an email. My email address is also on screen right now. It's a good way of sending proof, I guess, if you do have any. But these false memories do happen. They do happen. It happened to me when I was getting the initial lot of these. I could have sworn that Killjoy, the Killer Clown shitty film, 1 and 2 were both released by Hard Gore. And I searched for months and months and months to try and figure out where these films were, and I couldn't find anything. And they were never released on Hard Gore. Never. They were just in Poundland around the same time, and I was like 15, so in my head, like 18 years later, I'm switching it all around, and yeah, no, it never existed, and I wasted a good chunk of time looking them up. So it does happen, it happens to all of us. So yeah, some proof would be nice. Excuse me. So, what is next then? I said I'm having a little break from the Hard Gore, because if you do send me something and I do find it and buy it, I'm going to quickly get that in before phase 2 properly kicks off. But what I do plan on doing is getting back to a series that I've been neglecting a little bit while I've been in this sort of Hard Gore zone. That being the AGFA 101 releases. So I'll be carrying on with regular videos, Thursday, 7 o'clock, same as always, but this time I'll be carrying on with the AGFA 101 reviews, which, yeah, have I missed them? A part of me has. I've been working on the Drug Stories one, sort of intermittently, and I've mentioned it in some of the other videos. It's been a slow process, because bunch of short films to watch. It's just whenever I've had the time, but that'll be coming out next week, I imagine. But yeah, so thanks for watching the Hard Gore reviews. All going according to plan. If there isn't anything that I've missed, the next Hard Gore review will be on High Ambition. Everything going according to plan. And before you go, I do just quickly want to say, this video is sponsored by me. That's right, I don't get paid sponsors for this, but there are a few things that I want to announce. So, if you'll let me, I've got a few things that I just want to mention that are going on. Firstly, I want to mention my short film, It's All Wrong. You may have seen a few things pushing this recently. It's been doing okay in festivals, I've had some nice words. And I did a limited run of Blu-rays of It's All Wrong. And due to popular demand, I brought it back for a very limited 5 Blu-ray run. This is the Blu-ray, and it comes with the short film, 25 minutes long, and it also has a bunch of special features, behind the scenes, bloopers, there's trailers, and there's also another short film called Muckman available on this. So if you are interested in supporting what I do, all the money goes towards more short films and the reviews, then maybe consider buying one. You know, it's a little piece of Old Man Chimes history, and it's all handmade, comes with hand-drawn disc, an art card, signed on the back, and yeah, I've had some good feedback on these. People seem to like them, and they work on anything. So if you are interested, the link will be here, about here I imagine, to my website, and yeah, it'd be great if you could check those out. Secondly, I want to mention that we are very, very, very close to hitting 1,000 subscribers, which would be an amazing milestone for me. We're very close. So what I've decided to do is a little bit of a push goal. Now, I tried to do this late last year, I think it was, and we didn't quite reach that, but I think it was quite a stretch, really. But this time it's an open-ended thing, and when we hit 1,000 subs, I will be making a complete collection video where we go through all my Blu-rays, DVDs, Laserdiscs, VHS, everything film related that I own. Going through the complete collection, you get to see exactly what I own currently, and I'll be chatting about what some of my favourite films are, which ones are worth keeping, which ones I don't know why I own, and yeah, a little bit of an insight into what my collection is. I've had a few requests for this type of video, so I'm going to make one. And I'm also then going to make concurrently a video game collection video and a music collection video, because I collect CDs, vinyls, cassettes, all sorts of music things, and I also collect video games, both new and old. And those will be available only on Patreon and for members. So if you're interested in seeing that, maybe consider supporting me on Patreon or with members. It'll be available to all tiers as well, and there's a bunch of stuff available right now. Actually, there's an animated short that I made that's available only to members and patrons, so if you want to support me in some way, that'd be amazing. There'll be more stuff coming on those as well, I promise, and you can get early access to the reviews and behind the scenes stuff for It's All Wrong and stuff like that, and the next short that I've got coming up. Lastly, before I go, I just want to very quickly point out that I do make animated films, short live action films, and just weird little surrealist funny things. So if you're interested in checking those out, they're over on Old Man Chimes Films, my other channel. Was my first channel, kind of become my second channel. And I also have another channel where I make experimental music and noise music, Old Man Chimes Music, and that handle is the same over on Bandcamp if you want to check out some weird sounds that I make. So thanks for watching this far, it really does mean a lot, and I'll see you in the next video.